Have you ever looked into a mirror and felt something was just a little off? Maybe the reflection blinked a little too late. Maybe a shadow moved where nothing should be. Or maybe, if you're truly unlucky, the mirror showed a room that wasn't yours at all. Tonight, you'll hear the story of an antique mirror found in the attic of an old house. A mirror that didn't just reflect reality, it revealed something else, something that should have stayed hidden. This is the story of the mirror that showed a different version of the room, and the person who wished they had never looked into it. Settle in, turn down the lights, and listen closely, because the mirror is only the beginning. Adrian had never intended to live in the old countryside house. It was something he inherited from a relative he barely remembered, an uncle or a cousin 3 times removed, the kind of family member you only meet once at a wedding and never again. But the house was free and rent was expensive, so Adrian packed up his things and moved in. It wasn't until his first night that he discovered the attic, and in that attic, covered in a yellowed sheet, stood an old floor-length mirror. He pulled the sheet away, and instantly, the air changed. The silence felt heavier, like the house was holding its breath. The mirror's frame was dark, carved with twisting, branching patterns that almost looked alive. But what really bothered him was the glass itself. It was spotless, cleaner than anything else in that dusty attic, and its reflection was wrong. Behind him, the attic looked different, brighter, newer, like a restored version of the room. Adrian stared at it for a long moment, feeling a slow chill crawl down his spine. Then he shrugged it off. Old mirrors distort things. Nothing to worry about. He was wrong. Over the next few days, Adrian found himself checking the mirror constantly, not out of fear, at least that's what he told himself, but out of curiosity. Every time he came back, something in the reflection had changed. One day, there was an ornate chair behind him, something that didn't exist in the real attic. The next day, a tall standing lamp. Then a portrait of a woman, her face scratched out, hanging on a wall that wasn't there. He took photos to be sure he wasn't imagining it. Real room, empty. Mirror room, furnished. But objects weren't the only things shifting. Sometimes he thought he saw movement in the reflection, a shifting shadow, a door opening just a little bit more, a flicker of something passing behind him even though the attic around him was still. He started leaving the attic light on at all hours, as if the darkness might give the reflection more power. But the strange part came later. One night, Adrian awoke to a soft tapping sound. Tap, tap, tap. It was faint, rhythmic, and coming from above him, the attic. He climbed the stairs slowly, the old wood creaking under his feet. The mirror was uncovered. He knew he had draped the sheet over it earlier. He remembered doing it. But the mirror stood exposed now, gleaming in the moonlight. He whispered, "Hello?" He didn't know why. He just felt like he wasn't alone. And in the reflection, he wasn't. The woman from the scratched portrait now stood in the mirrored version of the attic. Tall, still, head slightly tilted, as if studying him. Her face was smooth, like porcelain, blank, empty. But she moved, slowly, purposely. She lifted her hand, not mimicking him. Mirrors don't work like that. She reached toward him, toward the glass, from her world into his. Adrian stumbled back, heart hammering, breath shaking. Her hand stopped just short of the mirror's surface, almost waiting. Just when he thought the nightmare was over, it deepened. The next day, something new appeared in the reflection. A door. A door that did not exist in the real attic. It was old, wooden, swollen with age, and every time he looked at the mirror, the door opened a little bit more. An inch, then 3 inches, then half a foot. Behind it was darkness, not normal darkness, but something that seemed to breathe, a pulsing black void, like the shadows were alive inside it. Adrian touched the surface of the mirror. The glass was ice cold. Then something pushed back, a pressure against his palm. He jerked his hand away, and in the reflection, the door swung wide open. Something crawled out of the void, not the woman, something else. Something with 2 long limbs and joints that bent the wrong way. Adrian ran from the attic and slammed the door behind him. But what waits behind a mirror does not stay behind it for long. By the next night, Adrian had decided the mirror had to go. He grabbed a hammer. His hands were shaking, but he forced himself up the attic stairs. He raised the hammer and froze. His reflection wasn't copying him. In the mirror, Adrian stood perfectly still, but he wasn't holding a hammer. His arms hung at his sides, limp. His expression changed. A small smile spread on his reflection's face, slowly, too wide, too human to be human. And behind the reflection Adrian, the faceless woman appeared again. Her hands rested gently on his shoulders. Then she pushed him aside, like a mannequin, and stepped closer to the mirror. The glass began to ripple like black water. Adrian swung the hammer. The glass didn't shatter. A pale, ice-cold hand burst through and grabbed his wrist. He screamed. The hand pulled, hard. He dropped the hammer and clawed at the floorboards as he was dragged toward the mirror, toward that other room, toward that darkness. The attic filled with the sound of glass rippling like waves, and then silence. The next morning, the neighbors reported strange noises coming from the house. The police found the attic empty. Just dust, cobwebs, and the old mirror cracked but intact. They never found Adrian. But sometimes visitors swear they see movement in the reflection, a figure behind the glass, pounding silently, a figure with Adrian's face screaming with no sound. And behind him, the faceless woman stands silently, watching, always watching. Because not all prisons have bars. Some have reflections. So, what did we learn tonight? Not every mirror reflects the truth. Not every room you see is the one you're standing in. And if you ever find a mirror that seems too clean, too perfect, or too alive, don't look too long, because sometimes the reflection looks back. If this story kept you on edge, and you want more tales that follow you into the dark long after the video ends, make sure you like, comment, and subscribe. Tell me, would you dare keep a mirror like this in your home? When you're ready for another sleepless night, click on the next video. I'll be waiting right where the reflections begin.